Welcome to a new episode of the ITU Journal webinar series, where you can find insights and forward-looking research on future and evolving technologies. The ITU Journal is an international journal providing complete coverage of all communications and networking paradigms, free of charge for both readers and authors. This publication considers yet-to-be-published papers addressing fundamental and applied research, building bridges between disciplines, connecting theory with application, and stimulating international dialogue. Its interdisciplinary approach reflects ITU's comprehensive field of interest and explores the convergence of ICT with other disciplines. We count on your support to make this webinar an interesting experience. Please submit your questions to the speaker using the live video wall feature. All questions from the audience will be taken during the Q&A session after the talk. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be made available on the ITU Journal Webinars series playlist on YouTube. We hope that you will enjoy the talk, and we encourage you to stay connected until the end for the Wisdom Corner. Live Life Lessons. I will now give the floor to our Master of Ceremonies.
Hello, and welcome to the webinar series of the IT Journal on Future and Evolving Technologies. My name is Alessia Magliarditi from ITU, the International Telecommunication Union, the United Nations Specialized Agencies for Digital Technologies. It is my pleasure to open our last webinar of the year, kindly hosted by the i4Good, as part of the IT Journal Discovery Series with Dr. Sanyogita Shamsunder. After the Q&A session, as just announced by our avatar, I will moderate the Wisdom Corner, live life lessons, so please stay online. Our speaker agreed to a personal chat. She will share with us some lessons learned over the years that might perhaps be useful for some of you. I'm very pleased now to give the floor to Mr. Seizo Onoe, Director of the ITU Telecommunication Standardization Bureau, for his welcome remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. This special series of ITU webinars with industry leaders share unique insights on the evolution of our networks and prospects for the future. Today, we welcome Sanyogita Shamsunder, my old friend in mobile industry, now CTO of GeoLinks, to share the company's experience with fixed wireless access. With advanced wireless access technologies, fixed wireless access has become capable of delivering fiber-like speeds to home and businesses. Rollouts are fast and cost-effective, providing a valuable complement to fiber access in scenarios where fiber rollouts are challenging. It's also a very promising strategy to connect rural communities and bridge digital divide, and that's a top priority for ITU. Dr. Shamsunder, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. We highly appreciate your support. These talks from CTOs are presented by the ITU Journal on Future and Evolving Technologies. Our journal embodies ITU's commitment to public interest. It's unique in publishing top-tier papers at no charge to authors and readers. We enjoy outstanding leadership from the editor-in-chief, Jan F. Akyildiz, and I will encourage you to reach out to Professor Akyildiz with any questions you may have about how you could get involved. we welcome research on all topics all year round. This year, our journal has explored innovations in areas from geospatial AI and edge computing to privacy and security for generative AI. Our latest issue on AI and machine learning for networks will be published soon, and we are currently inviting submission on underwater communication and network management and orchestration for 6G. Digital twins are up next with a new special issue opening in the next few days. Alongside the ITU Journal, ITU Kaleidoscope Conference, and ITU Academia membership are also key avenue for academics to engage in ITU's work. The next edition of the ITU Kaleidoscope Academic Conference will be held in Geneva at our AI for Good Global Summit next July. The conference will explore AI and other frontier technologies, and we are inviting submissions until mid-January. ITU Academia membership helps to reinforce academia's works with industry on research and development, and in bringing the latest innovation to market. Our international standards, for example, support the global adoption of solutions developed together by academia and industry, boosting return on investment for both. I welcome you to join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Onoe-san, for your welcome remarks. Now I'm very pleased to give the floor to our editor-in-chief, Professor Ian Akyildiz, for his welcome remarks. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks a lot, Alessia, and thanks a lot, Onoe-san, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and honored participants. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are joining us from across our interconnected world. From magnificent city of Istanbul, a timeless bridge between civilizations and symbol of unity between East and West, it is both an honor and privilege to welcome you to our webinar of our ITU Journal for Future and Evolving Technologies. Before we proceed, allow me to reflect on the transformative mission of the ITU J-FET. Since its inception in December 2020, the journal has stood as a global beacon of open access innovation, forging an essential bridge between academia and industry while democratizing access to cutting-edge research. Each submission undergoes rigorous peer review, ensuring that only the most visionary and impactful contributions shape the future of the technology. The remarkable ascent of our journal as a premier publication owes much to an exceptional team. Onoe Seizo-san, he just talked. Bilel Jamoussi, who will take over from me. Alessia Magliarditi, our Master of Ceremony, and also the heroes in the backstage, Erika Campilongo, Maria Otero, and Pauline, and many others, whose unwavering dedication has been instrumental in our success. To the brilliant minds in our global audience, we extend an open invitation for you to contribute to your pioneering research and join us in propelling the next wave of technological advancement, especially the bridging the academic world with the industry through our ITU organization. Please join me in extending a warm and resounding welcome to our speaker today, Dr. Sanyogita Shamsunder. And now it's my distinct honor to introduce my colleague, Bilel Jamoussi, who will moderate today's talk. Thank you, Bilel, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ian, for that introduction. I'm very pleased to introduce Dr. Sanyogita Shamsunder, who is a highly accomplished technology executive and strategic leader with over 2 decades of experience across telecommunications, cloud infrastructure, and emerging technologies. She currently serves as the Chief Technology Officer of GeoLinks, where she leads the company's technology strategy, network innovation, and product development, with a mission to close the digital divide by accelerating the expansion of their fixed wireless network. She's also a driving force behind the development of GeoLinks' next-generation broadband platform. Prior to GeoLinks, Dr. Shamsunder held senior leadership roles at major technology and telecommunication companies. As we heard from Onoe-san at Verizon, she was instrumental in launching the company's nationwide 5G network and led product development, spectrum strategy, and network planning. And at Google Cloud, she led the global edge networking team, and most recently, she oversaw operations and innovation at NextNav, a leader in next-generation geolocation services. Dr. Shamsunder holds a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Virginia, an MBA with honors from the Wharton School, and multiple engineering degrees. She's also a noted innovator with 20 patents, and she serves on the Consumer Technology Association Foundation Board and NTIA's Spectrum Advisory Committee. Her broad experience also includes American Tower, Manvi, which is a domestic wireless nonprofit, NYT Higher Education, and she's also an investor and advisor to early edge technology startups. With that introduction, I'm very pleased and honored to pass the floor to Dr. Shamsunder. Over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Bilel. I'm excited to be here, and thank you, Ono-san and Professor Akyildiz as well, Alessia, and the rest of the team. I'm Sanyogita Shamsunder, the CTO at GeoLinks. GeoLinks is a company that is committed to building the digital divide, providing connectivity in areas where there are no alternatives or very few alternatives in terms of connectivity. As we all know, connectivity is extremely important. I recently came back from a trip in Nepal. I hiked the Annapurna Base Camp, and there was no heat in many parts of the hike, but there was connectivity. So connectivity, it was patchy, but still there was connectivity. So connectivity has become an important aspect for our day-to-day lives, whether it be for work as even or otherwise. So let me start off with a few slides presentation and. So, as we all know, fiber is the ultimate connectivity, material, right? It's in the ground. It's been in the ground for many years, but it is not an easy build. So I want to today give you alternatives to fiber that have emerged over the past several years, where wirelessly we have been able to connect, and the future is bright because we can do fiber-like connectivity with spectrum, with various parts of the spectrum that are available today in the market. So let me go back a little bit to history for those of you who probably are not familiar with the early 2000s. Early fixed broadband, wireless broadband, in fact, started off as the next big thing in around 2000 by a company called Winstar. The founders at that time believed that the technology and the capabilities that wireless had, they would be able to build faster than fiber. And they focus primarily on the business market, connecting businesses. And they had over 750 commercial buildings at that time that they thought that they could connect. They were challenging the incumbents. The incumbents were the big AT&Ts at that time, Verizon and Sprint and so on, and other cable as well as fiber providers. The deployment was expected to be faster because wireless, you just need to install a base station, and then the CPEs are relatively cheap, and then you can install it. You don't have to dig in the ground for fiber, and it takes several days versus several months or even sometimes years, depending on where the fiber is being built. The technology that they used at that time was high frequency spectrum. It was called LMDS. Anything above 20 gigahertz was LMDS. And in fact, they went and purchased some spectrum in the auction as well. Unfortunately, the timing was bad. It was 2000, where it was the initial collapse of the telecom market. And there were technology limitations. It was pure line of sight. And line of sight is fine, but it turns out that the early technology was based on analog and some defense technologies that didn't necessarily utilize all the capabilities that we see today. And of course, there was a financial collapse. There was an overbuild of fiber and the market collapsed. So several of the large companies, in fact, Lucent, that actually invested in WinStar, $2 billion, had a difficult time at that time. And then the market competition, the cable and the DOCSIS cable upgrades came in at that time. They started accelerating the technology, and then the early fiber rollouts, started taking some traction. So the outcome was these startups that were essentially they were basically startups that were like banking on the connectivity to connect businesses, pretty much collapsed, and they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So that was in 2000. But let me go back a little bit, right? All of us are familiar with Wi-Fi now. So Wi-Fi as a technology and the spectrum band 2.5 and then later on 5 started off in the mid 80s and the 90s. And typically that was based for, home connectivity or business connectivity within a certain area. But what that did is enabled the, low cost technology, Wi-Fi-like waveforms that the wireless internet service providers, the other smaller ones, not the big ones that collapsed, there were several smaller ones that emerged that started using that technology to provide connectivity in underserved areas, rural areas where there was really no cable, neither there was fiber, nor at this time, mobile internet was still early. Remember in the 2000s, it was still the 3G days. And there was mostly phones that were connected, no homes that were connected with mobile Wi-Fi mobile wireless networks. And fast forward to today, there are more and more spectrum bands that have become available for wireless and internet services. They expanded, 5 gigahertz expanded into 6 gigahertz, and then later on there was 60 gigahertz that was added. So all of these are unlicensed technologies, and in portions of that is where the WISPs added outdoor. Home, and mostly rural and suburban areas. They connected with internet for internet services, home broadband, as they call it. And the Wi-Fi-like technologies essentially provided low-cost and scalable options. And as technology improved, semiconductor integration improved, the cost of equipment started going down, and this made this service feasible and cost-effective. So remember that this is all unlicensed. So the major challenge is interference management. At least in the US, the FCC has some rules in some parts of the 5-6 gigahertz that requires you to do automatic frequency allocation and so on. But nevertheless, when you're planning a network, you really can't predict where the interference is coming from. And that makes it somewhat difficult to use this beyond the rural and the suburban areas, the unlicensed spectrum. Nevertheless, the fixed wireless footprint in the US has grown significantly. There are roughly 2,800 wireless internet service providers that service some of the areas, again, like I said, where there is no alternative to connectivity. And there's about 9 million subscribers, roughly, on these networks. And in fact, the FCC says that there is an additional 14 million that are not connected at all. They still don't have connectivity. And there are programs that are in place by the FCC to help connect these. So in short, as you can see, especially the Midwest and the western part of the country has a lot of internet service providers, and they provide again services in areas where the large MNOs or nor the cables or any of the fiber providers are present. So they fill a very, very much required need. And the subscriber growth has grown significantly in the last 6 years. So not only in the US but globally as well, there is government funding for kind of fixing the digital divide. As you can see, every country has some type of a program. And many times it is fiber that is funded, but in recent years there's also satellite as well as fixed wireless as alternatives to fiber. So fiber is not the only approach to build in these options in these programs like BEAD funding. There's a lot of BEAD states that have provided funding to fixed wireless, some to satellite as well, and some to fiber. So it's a mix. So there is a growing need and growing availability of public funds to build some of the connectivity. And again, it's not limited to fiber. So over the time, there are different frequency bands that have become available for fixed wireless. Most frequently used are the 5 and 6 gigahertz that are unlicensed. A few hundreds of megahertz available. It's free, right? It's unlicensed, so it's available, and pretty much all over the world, this frequency range is what is used. So there is global scale to this. It's slightly long range. You can do line of sight. Non-line of sight is somewhat challenging in any frequency band, and especially as you go higher, of course, it's significantly worse. And then over time, like I said, the 60 gigahertz band is another band which is totally unlicensed. There is several gigahertz of bandwidth here, but unfortunately 60 gigahertz is very, very short range, maybe a mile. You can get a gig, but it's clear line of sight and about a mile. And it's really a solution for very specific use cases. It's not something that you can build to cover a large area. And at least in the US, the C-band, there are parts of the C-band which is called the CBRS. Again, around 3 gigahertz range. And again, globally as well, this band is also become available. And parts of the C-band are licensed, and part of it are called, GAA, the general use, that are available to anybody. It is longer range because it's lower frequency, but the bandwidth is only at most 40 megahertz, and that may not be available in several areas because it's shared spectrum, and it is shared with not only other users but as well as some government use cases and military use cases. So the one emerging frequency, millimeter wave, going back to reminding you from the 2000 days, that frequency band has over time had significant progress because the technology has improved. There are a lot of new techniques, partly due to the mobile use in this band, standardization and technologies that were introduced to improve performance in mobile networks, and the emergence of MIMO as well as integrated circuits in this millimeter wave band that have made it really a powerful tool to be able to provide fixed wireless service. It has multiple, almost a gigahertz of frequency in different countries. It's inexpensive. Although it's licensed, it's nowhere the cost of the lower frequencies, right? It has a penalty for higher frequencies. It can be long range depending on the technology that is used, and of course, you can also have higher capacity. Like as technology has improved, we've been able to do that. So let me go back to an example of where the unlicensed spectrum falls short, right? Like I said, in rural areas, it's fantastic, it's low cost, but in urban, I mean, if you look at North Las Vegas, which is outside of the core Las Vegas area, there is really not much available, and you can't transmit at the highest power levels. You have to back off. And at that time, when you don't transmit at higher power levels, you don't get the coverage that you can get. It limits the throughput and the reach and the number of subscribers as well. And clear line of sight is still a requirement for even for this band. And then CBRS has the same challenges. So then what do we do with millimeter wave, right? Like where, what is this frequency band? How does it differ from the mobile band? So because this is high frequency, but it is licensed, and so interference protection is available. Nobody else can transmit in this band because, we have the license. Line of sight propagation is required in this, right? You can't build a network with non-line of sight in this. And because the propagation loss is higher, you need to design the technology with enough margin to be able to cover the path loss. But this is perfect for dense urban deployments, enterprise connectivity, because you can get several gigs. It is licensed, so it is protected. It has SLAs that you can offer, like fiber cuts take several days or sometimes even weeks to repair, thus losing any of the SLAs that you can guarantee. But wireless can be fixed pretty much immediately if designed correctly, of course, right? So this particular frequency band is essentially from 29.1 to 31.3. And specifically, we're talking about these two blocks, where that A1, A2, A3, B1, B2. A2 is reserved for point-to-point only, but the B1, A3, and B2, like B1, B2, and A3 bands, which is a total of 300 megahertz, can be used for point-to-multipoint solution. This is not used for mobile. It's not the FCC rules are not available for mobile for this. The mobile band is actually the 3GPP band, and part of it overlaps this particular band between 26.5 to 29.5. It is N57, and the rules here are for to allow mobility. So we are talking about this B1, B2, A3 band, and then the A2 band that are available for point-to-point and point-to-multipoint use cases. So then what is the challenge here, right? Like I said, there is propagation path loss and I show here for both the nominal 5 gigahertz, which is the most common, 5 to 6 gigahertz, which is the most common frequency used in fixed wireless networks outside of the licensed networks, like the Verizons and the T-Mos and the AT&T. When I'm talking about purely fixed wireless internet service provider networks that are primarily in the low frequency in the 5 gigahertz band. So there is a significant path loss for 28 gigahertz, but the good news is if you can design the technology to be able to recover the path loss or to have enough gain and directional antennas, then it works as well as, or in fact better because it's licensed than the 5 gigahertz. So there is some penalty for rain as well. Heavy rain really is a challenge, but there are very few parts of the country where there is heavy rain that we describe here. This is actually all based on ITU calculations for this band and the 5 gigahertz band. And even light to medium rain, the technology that we are testing and we are deploying now is capable of recovering the loss that I mentioned. So just showing graphically typical throughput as well as coverage for the telecom hardware that we are building is roughly 6 miles, and you can serve about a gig even up to 6 miles. And of course, close in you have significantly higher throughput as well. And the performance is primarily attributed to the superior system gain, achieved through the use of significantly higher EIRP compared to unlicensed spectrum, whose EIRP levels are constrained by regulatory limits. The deployment of the highly directive antennas at the CPE, right? So it does require, it is not a self-install. It does require a truck roll to install the antenna at the CPE at the user location. But that essentially further enhances the link robustness and offers the capability to be able to, have a reliable connectivity, several gigabit connectivity to the endpoints. And you can do it over distances of several miles. Compare this to a typical, unlicensed network. We're talking about 4 miles. So significant, roughly 50% improvement in coverage, and more than 50% improvement in capacity and throughput. Okay, and all this is because of the highly integrated and directive technology that is built in both in the base station and the CPE here. Just as a comparison, I'm showing you the typical. I mean, again, not identifying any particular vendor here. Typical throughputs that we are seeing in the most latest equipment in the unlicensed band versus what we are deploying today with Intracom's 31 gigahertz equipment, and you can see that it is very competitive, if not better in many ways. A lower power consumption, reduces OpEx cost, reach is higher. Of course, you need more line of sight here, but in areas that we are targeting, which is dense urban, and using rooftops and things like that, this is possible, feasible. The design tools are today much better, significantly improved when compared to what the startups faced back in 2000, right? Several of them have highly customized as well as automated tools and network management and so on and so forth. So significantly improved overall. And you can have high density sectors, right? And in a roughly in a 6 mile radius, you can have about 400 to 1,000 subscribers simultaneous. You can have many more subscribers, but you can have you can serve about 1,000 of them simultaneously. Excuse me. And then how does this compare with millimeter wave fixed wireless from the 3GPP world, right? What they call the 5G NR. Okay, the 5G NR network is customized for multiple applications, more specifically mobile, right? So it is not a purpose-built technology. The millimeter wave equipment that we're talking about in LMDS is purpose-built for fixed applications. So purpose-built, of course, gives you better performance when you're trying to optimize it for multiple applications. You have to be careful about how you build the network. Typically limited range in mobile millimeter wave based fixed wireless versus extended range that you can do again with directional CPEs, right? When you're talking about a mobile, it's not directional. The network needs to be able to serve multiple mobiles in many different areas. So and the mobile itself, although there is a lot of integrated MIMO even in mobiles, nevertheless the transmit power is also limited in mobiles because of regulatory reasons. There's no core in the LMDS network, and while the 5G NR technology in general, all the 3GPP technologies have a complex core architecture, and there's a lot of capacity that is given up for the control and the user plane functions, and it adds to the cost of building a network when you have to build out a core. Again, because this is a purpose-built technology, that generally more power efficient solution with lower power consumption versus a radio that is used for mobile. And then the other important difference is that Is typically it's a 400 megahertz for carrier configuration with max modulation 256 QAM, while in the fixed case, there is more flexibility. You can use channels as small as 100 megahertz, and you can do modulation up to 1024 QAM. So several advantages versus 5G NR based fixed wireless. So bottom line is, when you look at like what the business model and economics looks like in this, right? Fiber typically costs 12,000 to 50,000 per mile. Again, depending on where you're building. If it's in the ground, it is expensive. If it's aerial, you can do it at a lower cost. But unlicensed fixed wireless gives you the capability of getting almost a similar bandwidth, at least from a consumer and enterprise business use case viewpoint, at a much lower cost. Roughly 10% of the fiber cost you can cover similar area. You can do it in break-even times are less because you can build it in less than a year. In fact, if you have a tower up with a radio, you can install pretty much immediately the endpoint. You're not trying to extend fiber, perhaps from the curbside to an inner lane or something like that. Some of those realities kind of go away. The break-even cycle, the break-even is you can achieve in less than 3 years. In fact, when you sign up customers. And the revenue models, you can do different tiered models. Again, depending on the coverage and the capacity, you can offer bandwidth for homes versus enterprises, which might may have higher bandwidth needs, higher SLAs, quality of service, and so on. So those are all feasible with the network technology that has been developed today. And you can scale as much as you want, right? If there is a need for additional capacity, you can add additional sites, additional radios, and quickly add capacity. And reliability can up to four to even 5 nines in these networks, and that is feasible. So this has become a viable alternative to fiber in many areas, especially as we see where in dense urban where there is no fiber already in many places. In fact, we're just looking at a city in California where there's only 13% fiber. So there are a lot of parts of the country where there are either no fiber providers or no only one provider, and that limits the competition in the area. So let me show you a short video that shows how the deployment and the testing that was recently done in Las Vegas as part of Wispapalooza.
For 3 decades, WISPs have been playing a game where the rules aren't fair. You've been locked out, grappling with interference and customer support calls. But you've built great businesses anyway, through grit, innovation, and sheer force of will. Today, GeoLinks is proud to announce that the game has changed. For the first time, the vault door is open. The rules are fair. New business-grade licensed spectrum with fiber-like speeds across more than 1,300 counties, available to WISPs for the first time.
So for wrapping up, again, like I said, unlicensed, which is what all of the WISPs use today, is best for cost-sensitive rural deployments with lower frequency reuse. And that's how they have built the businesses over all these years since 2004 actually is when the WISPA Association was created by this smaller rural providers. And even today, that's a viable option in many areas. But what we have is the LMDS premium solution, and we are making it available to all WISPs actually throughout the country, the 2,800 WISPs, to build a network using the licensed LMDS spectrum and offer connectivity beyond rural to urban enterprise, multi-dwelling units. Again, MDUs are high bandwidth hogs because you have to serve several units at the same time. Business parks where there are multiple businesses, and then suburban residential as well, where there is a need for higher connectivity throughputs, and maybe fiber is still not available in these residential areas. This connectivity can be both a primary as well as a backup redundant service. Today, enterprises have multiple redundant services. The need for connectivity is so critical that you need to have not just one but multiple. Especially if you have multiple campuses connected through SD-WAN, you need multiple connectivity. And a well-planned network on licensed spectrum offers deterministic performance and guaranteed SLAs. Again, you have to use the right tools to design and build the network and make sure that you have the deployment correctly, especially in the CPE side as well. Although a lot of the beamforming technologies have made it somewhat flexible, there is more room for error, but still requires well-planned network. And you can reuse the frequencies, and so the spectral efficiency is also high with the intercom system, and then the faster ROI than fiber deployment. You can recover your capex much faster by going into service sooner than you can with fiber. Of course, you can do hybrid. You can do both lower frequencies as well as higher frequencies together. Just as the mobile networks have multiple frequency bands, your phone connects to multiple frequencies. Similarly, even in the fixed wireless world, you can use the low bands as well as the high bands to build a network. To build a network that maximizes market coverage and economics, right? The market growth is still seen to be pretty high, 15 to 20 CAGR through 2030. So I do think that this is a great alternative or a great option for fiber. With that, let me stop.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shamsunder, for your excellent presentation and an overview of the connectivity of the fixed wireless conversions. As I listened to your presentation, I was remembering a recent conference where the topic was from information society to intelligence society. And it kind of started in around 2000 when countries were connected to the internet and trying to get broadband connectivity. And it took about almost 20 years to bridge that gap of connectivity, but still 2.2 billion people are still not connected today.
Exactly.
And hearing from you a new innovative solution to bridge that gap is quite inspiring, because that will be the basis to be talking about the intelligence society and using artificial intelligence. If we're not connected, we can't really benefit from those new solutions and services. So I was also reminded of some of the topics or projects that we have in the ITU, and I wanted to ask you if those are areas of potential interest, like the Partner to Connect initiative to get pledges from companies and governments on connectivity. It's the P2C project, one of the flagship from our Secretary General, to get a pledge of 100 billion in the next few years from around the world. And also to support that, there is the GIGA project, which is a joint project with UNICEF and ITU to connect schools, because we still have many schools in developed and developing countries that may not have the proper connectivity. And maybe your solution could be not only useful in the US, but maybe globally in other countries that might benefit from that. And then as we speak in New York, we have the Digital at UNGA, at the UN General Assembly, where there is a review of the WSIS process, WSIS plus 20, and this is tying back to my initial comment on moving from the information society to the intelligence society, that we need to continue to focus on connectivity to be able to benefit from AI. So I wanted to throw these out as macro level conversations and see how, you know, what you shared with us today could fit into the broader context.
Yeah, those are such important aspects, right? In fact, we have a lot of libraries that we connect in our footprint. There is that's, you know, it's unbelievable even in a state like California, that we have, you know, there's a lot of areas where there is very little connectivity. There is an large operator in Italy, actually, who does fixed wireless with similar equipment. And there is a company called Open Fiber in Italy that I believe that does something similar as well in fixed wireless. So there is a lot more now with in a high bandwidth fixed wireless happening throughout the world, and primarily because, again, you know, while the mobile industry has had significant growth, right? You know, it roughly, but there's still a lot of the country or a lot of the world that is not connected with mobile. And you know, that's sometimes that's not easy to build in certain areas, because there are smaller hamlets, smaller cities, smaller towns that you can easily connect using a tower and perhaps a few fixed wireless terminals. So there are certainly ideas like that are happening in locally, but I agree that there is more work to be done.
Yeah, thanks. And in terms of investment, the ITU published recently the Digital Infrastructure Investment Initiative, and that report shows that there is trillions of dollars still to be invested in connectivity. And I assume that, you know, even with the fixed wireless solution, there is still an investment in fiber to connect the towers and get to the wireless part of the connectivity. So it's a complementary investment in a way between fiber.
It is a complementary investment. Yeah. Correct. Because again, you do need something to connect the towers, either wireless backhaul or fiber, right? You know, several of these WISPs today use primarily wireless backhaul because, again, fiber is not available in those areas, but you could have fiber, and in fact, for high bandwidth, you do need fiber backhaul, but you can extend the reach of the fiber, right, by using these technologies. So that's how we see it. It's complementary. It's not replacing, but extending, and being able to provide, especially where it is not easy to build fiber. And like in urban downtowns, it's not easy to build because you have to dig up the sidewalk. And most of these cities also don't allow aerial fiber in downtown, especially as so there's really sometimes not that an easy route, and that's where there is a sweet spot for this.
Great. And now there's a lot of talk about satellites, and the WRC 27, the World Radio Conference 27
Right.
agenda, has a significant portion that looks at satellite connectivity. Do you see also satellite as emerging as another channel to this fixed mobile wireless, perhaps satellite conversions?
Yeah. I think there is definitely, I mean, today, especially if capacity is not an issue, certainly satellite capacity is an issue, right? If you have to serve a dense area, using a LEO or a GEO, it's not easy to be able to serve, to have enough capacity to serve effectively. But clearly in the, again, it's another tool in the toolbox. I look at it as this fiber, wireless, and satellite, like together can fill the gaps, I think. And it's not cheap either, right? So it's not very cost effective for some of the where there is a need. There is a digital divide. People can't afford to pay sometimes the connectivity cost of connectivity. So that's the other reality. But capacity is one of the challenges.
Great. Well, those are all the questions I have. I wanted to really thank you very much for your time today, for sharing with us this amazing new frontier. We wish you success in this journey. And I just wanted to finally mention a new academic advisory body that our Secretary General launched recently, just for your information in case of possible synergies going forward. So with that, thank you very much, and I will pass it back to Alessia.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm going to check out all these, all the ones that you mentioned.
Thank you.
The Giga. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've shared the links actually, Michael, because there's a platform I'm running in parallel where all participants can look at all the information that we share. So my colleague Erica shared on the neural network, also the links, and I've shared them with you as well. So thank you very much, Dr. Jamoussi, for moderating this session, for your interesting questions, and thank you so much for your presentation. Dr. Shamsunder. So we'll now move to the Wisdom Corner, which is the last session of the webinar, which aims at giving a personal touch to this webinar series. So I will ask my first question to you. Looking back on your journey, what is the most valuable life lesson or even failure that you have encountered that shaped your path, and how can this lesson inspire those attending the webinar today live or even watching the recordings later?
Yeah. Looking back, I mean, life lesson, I think the biggest thing is take risks. Take risks. If you don't take a risk, you don't know what you are capable of. So don't judge yourselves, second guess yourselves. If somebody is asking you to do something, believe that person has the best in you, and take the risk, especially professionally. I'm talking about. And the other important thing is to learn to learn, be curious, be open, and because things are constantly changing. What you learned in school is a good foundation, but it's not something that you can just bank on for the rest of your life. So you need to be able to learn how to learn. So I think those are the two things that I feel are important.
Wonderful. Thank you, because you see, this is the first time that I hear those two advice, which is really interesting. So I thank you for sharing, and I can tell it's a different point of view from someone with your background, with your amazing achievements. Let me ask you the second question. What first inspired your passion for your field, and how did you turn that interest into an important career?
Yeah, that's a question that I get asked a lot. It was my math teacher in 6th grade who really made math one of my favorite subjects.
Okay.
And since that point, so I gravitate towards stuff that is more mathematical, and that's how I picked electronics and communications in my undergrad. I had a choice to do something else. I could have gone to medical school, but I really like math, so that's how I chose electronics. And electronics was the most mathematical of all the engineering, I was told. So I did that. I didn't have any role models growing up who were engineers, especially female engineers or electrical engineers. So that was the reason why I did it, because I like math, and I said, okay, I want to do this. And that continued on. I did my PhD in signal processing, which is quite mathematical. And it was my thesis was very mathematical and statistics oriented. And after that, I did a lot of finance in my MBA. I love to do strategic, work in that essentially has dollars and cents as well as technology associated with it. So it's basically that passion that kind of brought me here.
Okay, thank you. My last question, I would like to ask you, among your career achievements, is there one particular contribution, whether professional or even personal, that has had a profound impact on you or on others? And what makes this accomplishment especially meaningful to you?
Yeah, when I hear people in the past who worked in my team come back to me saying you were one of the best bosses that I had, and they still keep in touch with me, that's essentially what I enjoy, right? I mean, I hope I made a difference to them. I'm constantly mentoring people or giving feedback or giving advice if they ask, of course. But hearing that is essentially what is important, right? That
Wonderful.
means
Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
No. I just wanted to say that, well, but this is pretty common with the speakers that we interview, that we ask question. They typically say, so it must be something extremely important and impactful and meaningful. They typically say, oh, the PhD that I had, been mentoring them. So this is something typical, which I'm learning, doing all these wisdom corners, and which I found extremely nice and rewarding. So thank you for sharing. Well, the first two advice were really unique. So taking risk, I remember that, and the other one you said learning.
Learning to learn.
To learn,
Learning how to
exactly.
learn.
Learning to learn. Yeah. I'll take note of that. So thank you so much for sharing with us your advice and for your very interesting presentation today. So I would like to ask my director, Onoe-san, and our deputy director, Dr. Jamoussi, to come back online, live, to close this webinar. Please, Onoe-san.
Thank you, Alessia.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I very much appreciate. I'm wondering, so I have several questions, but next time I meet.
Please, you still have a few minutes if you want to ask. Yeah.
Just a technical question.
Yeah.
But just I was curious, which radio access technology do you use? That's my question.
Yeah, no, this is proprietary, right? This is not
you said that why bus? Did you say
Y-Bus, yeah. Well, it's a product name. It is actually it's essentially an OFDM based waveform, right? But it's not 3GPP. It's a proprietary. Typically in the wireless internet service world, they use proprietary waveforms, and most of them are Wi-Fi base, but have other things on top. So 3GPP. There is a lot of standardization and IP costs and stuff like that. So the internet, the fixed wireless world doesn't use 3GPP.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah. Also, I like to invite you to another event in ITU. Please join us.
Sure, happy to do that. We'll love to. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you very much. Thanks everybody for being online to attend this webinar. I hope also many others will watch the recordings, and we take this opportunity to wish you and all your families happy end of year festivities, and we'll see back online next year, end of January. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a nice holiday. Bye.
You too. Bye.